Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chiseled. And why do we call it Chiseled? Because we're all a work in progress. I'm your host. I'm Rob Commodari. I'm the author of the book Better Than You Think, co-author of the book Next Level Your Life. But today I have an author, and I have an awesome guest here that I met, I don't know, a few months ago, but we connected right away. He's an author as well. He's a very spiritual guy. His name is Brett Snodgrass. And he is from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He runs a community. He's a Christ follower, family man, and an entrepreneur. And he runs this community called Iron Deep. And what's interesting about it, he sent me something, and it had the emblem or the logo, let's call it, and it's a chisel, no pun intended, and a nail, right? And so there's a connection there right away. So his community is called Iron Deep. And as iron sharpens iron, friends sharpen friends. And that's from Proverbs 27, verse 17. So, Brett, he founded the Iron Deep in 2021. It's a unique community, a unique men's community, let me say, made of risk-taking, mission-minded male business leaders who vow to go beyond success to fulfill their significant purpose in Christ. It's a band of business brothers who strive to root their identity in the Father's business and have everything else flow through that filter. The Iron Deep community is made up of imperfect, broken, messy, and raw men channeling a strong desire to come together, encourage one another, and stand in each other's corner. And they prioritize significance over success, even though they love success. So that said, Brett's also been a real estate investor for over 15 years. I think it's 17 years, he told me. And he specializes in wholesaling, wholetailing. You got to tell me what that is. Wholetailing, creative financing, business scaling, and his team at Simple Wholesaling acquires and sells 250 plus properties per year and builds passive streams of income by creating 50 plus financing deals per year. So that's a lot. He's married. He's been married for about 12 years. And he has 4 children. And like I said, he's called a God-fearing man. And when you say God-fearing man, that means God-respecting man. And so, Brett, thank you for being on here, man. I'm so excited to talk to you today. I read your book, and the title of his book is The Secret War Within. And we're going to get into a little bit about that. So, Brett, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Rob, man. I am super excited, pumped up to be on your show. You were on my podcast a couple months ago, and we had a great time. And again, a lot of connections, Chiseled, and that's the first thing I pointed out. Your show, Chiseled, and my emblem on Iron Deep was a chisel, always a work in progress. That's what I thought about. You're always chiseling away at your heart. That God's always just chiseling away at it, and molding you into who He designed you to be. So awesome to hear, man.
Yeah, it's great. So he's got his Iron Deep shirt on, and I got the Chiseled shirt on. So that is purposeful. So let's just say that right out of the gate. So Brett, man, it's you've got an interesting life, let's call it, right? The
A little bit going
typical
on.
male, right? And I want you to give us context of where you were and how you got where, like what turned or how it turned, and then where you are now. So if you can give us some context of your life coming up to where you are now, and then I'm going to drill you or chisel you with some questions.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I'll just kind of take you back just a little bit about just kind of growing up. So I grew up in Indiana. I live in Indiana still. My dad was a high school basketball coach. So if you think of Indiana high school basketball coach, the movie Hoosiers, that was pretty much like my life. Dad was coaching, I was playing, and I played basketball in college. And a lot of men start off with that sports mentality. They want to achieve, they want to perform, and that was my life for several years playing basketball. I played in college, small school in Indiana, and then I graduated. And then what do you do next? My identity was kind of stripped away. Everyone knew me as this basketball player. I love the applause. I love the gym and everyone cheering for you. And I didn't have that anymore. So then typically men might transition into business, and that's what I did. I got into real estate in about 2007. That's when I bought my very first house. And if you think about this, Rob, my first house was $9,000. So we've came a long way since then. You can actually still probably buy $9,000 in some areas of the country, but not in Indianapolis anymore. My house was $9,000. I
Wow.
bought it, and then I sold it 3 weeks later for $15,000, and I made $6,000, and that was more money than I had ever seen in my entire life. Because my dad was a teacher, mom was a preschool teacher, didn't have a lot of money kind of growing up. I was a substitute teacher at that time, making like 12,000 a year. So I made $6,000. Couldn't believe it. And then the light bulb just kind of went off. I said, "Man, I want to do this more." And I went kind of all in, like I do, and a lot of things in my life. And in 2008, we did 150 of those deals, and that's when things just kind of skyrocketed. And I've been in the real estate game now for 17 years. So fast forward to 2024 is when we're airing the show, and it's been a ride, man. It's been mountains, valleys, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, a lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights, grinding out, trying to figure things out. And through all that, I had a lot of trials. And then about 3 years after I got into real estate, I wasn't living a Christ filled life at all. I mean, my 20s were, I was a womanizer. I partied pretty much all the time. I drank myself to death. I just wanted the pleasures of life. I bought anything that I could get my hands on to make me feel good about myself. And then kind of crap hit the fan. I ended up having a daughter out of wedlock, and I had bought a big house, had a nice car, and I just remember the moment. She and my daughter's mother ended up leaving, and I just remember I had my 2-year-old daughter sitting there, and I had all these nice things, and I was just completely lost and just completely miserable in my life. And again, the book kind of comes from that, this secret war within. I had this battle, this war going in, that my flesh was chasing after all of these things and achieving a lot of it, but still feeling completely lost and miserable. And that's when I kind of went on this journey. And it wasn't a over the night thing. It was a 6 month or 12-month journey of just asking these really difficult questions about myself, about the meaning of life, the purpose of life. And that's when I found myself in September the 15th, 2010, in my bedroom alone. God just kind of revealed himself to me that night, and I gave my life to Christ. And here we are 14 years later. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. There's a lot more to the story based beyond that, but I just want to kind of give you a snapshot.
Yeah, that's great. So first thing that stood out to me, 'cause there's a lot to unpack here. So the first thing that stood out to me from a real estate perspective is that 2007 you buy your first house. 2008 you said you bought 150. So you
Yeah.
went from 1 to 150 within, let's call it, a year or 2 years, if you count the whole year of 07, 08. Is that correct?
It is correct. It is correct. Now this is a totally different time. Back in 2007, back in 2008, if you guys remember, the eight was the crash. So the market's tanking, everyone's running for the hills. No one wants to be in real estate. Bank owned REO treasure chest all around you, discounted properties. And like I could buy a house in inner city Indianapolis or inner city Cincinnati for like $5,000. Like that was just a given day.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I'm buying 100, 200, $300,000 houses. These are like, I'm buying like a beat up car, honestly, and I would just sell them, and I would buy them for 5. I'd sell them for 10. And that was most of our business. We grew from that, but that's kind of, how that, it was like, you know, just buying candy, just buying them and turning them.
Wow. Did you do this on your own? Did you have a group of people with you, investors or whatnot?
Yeah, so honestly, it was me and my dad. So my dad he was a teacher, as I mentioned. He was a coach, and he taught, and he went to retire early. So we kind of did it together. We were partners for the first 6 or 7 years, and our business was, honestly, we drove around, looked at REO properties, made offers on the MLS, and we would offer 200 offers in a month. We'd get 10 accepted, and that's kind of how we ran our business. We tried some other things too. I mean, it hasn't always been that, because obviously, in 2010 or 11, the market started to shift, started to pivot. We had to figure things out. So we started fixing and flipping for a few years. So I was, putting in cabinets and painting and sanding floors and all that stuff. And dad and mom helped out. We had subcontractors here and there, but honestly, for the first 6 or 7 years, it was just me and dad and my family. I didn't have a team or hire anybody.
That's incredible to have that kind of growth that quick. Is like you said, it's a stressful, real estate's a stressful business.
It
You know,
is.
yeah. And
Yeah.
from you said you had a lot of sleepless nights. Sleepless from what? From
Well, I mean, back in the day, I mean, again, when you're a one man show like that and you're trying to figure it out, I mean, I'm working 80, 90, 100 hours in a week, staying at getting up at 2. And when you're starting to make this money, man, like it becomes just so addictive. You're like, oh my gosh, I just want more. I just want more. Like, and it's never enough. So like, I'm kind of young. I'm 28, 29, 30 years old. I'm making money, and I'm just living it up, and I'm partying, and I'm going to Vegas, and I'm gambling, and I'm just living that lifestyle. Um and again, it just couldn't get enough, and then it ended up rocking me on my butt too.
Well, a couple of things. A side note, real quick. So you said your dad was a basketball coach. Yeah, because I interviewed a friend, a friend of yours or somebody you know. He's basically your neighbor, Brad Noah, and he played basketball, and his dad was a coach. Did you guys ever play basketball together?
I don't think so. So I grew up in Southern Indiana, and yeah, Brad, I know him as in my community, and I don't think we ever ended up playing because he was Northern Indiana, I was Southern Indiana, so I don't think we ever crossed paths actually in high school. Now I went to Huntington, but he ended up going to a D2 school for a while, but very similar stories, I believe. So
Yeah. Now, having your dad as a coach, was that difficult? Like, are you always trying to prove something to your dad, or you're like, how did that, like, what was that like being coached by
yeah,
your dad?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's looking back, like I think there when you're in the middle of it, you're like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. I get to see my dad, but he typically the dad is hardest on the son, right? So he's pushing you, he's expecting a lot out of you. There's this performance mentality, and I want to please my dad, and I think every son, we want to please our dads, whether you want to or not. You see, I go to this camp called Dad Camp. We're talking about how to be a great dad, how to be a good dad, and whether you're a great dad or a bad dad, there is such an influence there. And I think even till today, I look at a lot of the things even that I'm doing now, and maybe I'm looking for it, when I'm going through all this, some performance approval from my dad. um so yes, dad was hard on me. It was tough at times. There was many challenging moments. There was many times I didn't know if I would have a relationship with my dad after basketball season. He's mellowed out so much after. One thing about my dad was he was a basketball coach for 25 years. And when I graduated and I went to college, he retired and he was only 49 years old. So if you think
Wow.
about a dad giving up his coaching identity to go watch his son, and that's why he did it in college, like that's also who my dad was as well. So
So that, like, that intensity, if that's the right word, did that from him to you, did that translate from you to your kids? Uh,
it can. I think it either translates from me to my kids because it kind of gets passing down from generations, or you overcorrect. And I
yes.
think for me, I've actually overcorrected that I don't maybe push my kids enough. I don't maybe put them through the healthy struggle because I'm afraid that they might feel the same things that I felt as a kid. So like I've probably went the overcorrection way.
Did you feel like you were a people pleaser to your dad? Like you had to be a parent centered child? And you know what I
um,
mean by that? Everything you
yeah.
did was, yeah.
I think so. I think so. On the basketball court, I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, I definitely wanted to please him on the basketball court. I obviously have that rebellious spirit, as I mentioned. Throughout my 20s, I think there was some sort of rebellious in there. But am I by nature a people pleaser? I believe so. I can get in trouble by trying to please too many people. But probably my dad would be at the top of that list for sure.
Yeah, it brings me a time when I was pretty hard on my son. Like, I'm one of seven kids. My dad was working three jobs, so it was my mom's raising seven kids in the house. My dad's working three jobs, so it was crazy. We had a 2 bedroom house, 745 square feet for
Wow.
starters, and so it was. Let's just say it was hell around here, right? And so like, can you imagine having seven kids now, living in a house like that? I can't
I
even imagine the stress, right?
Yes. It's
So I
crazy. I was taking a walk with my daughter because this just puts our culture and our neighborhood like into perspective. Because I do a lot of missions in like Guatemala, and yesterday I was taking my daughter, she's 6, on a walk, and she's like, "Wow, that house is really small." It was like a ranch, it was probably like 2,500 square feet. I was like, "That house is not that small." Like, Daddy, he goes to actually missions in Guatemala, and some of them, their whole family lives in a house like super small. And she's like, "How small?" And I was like, "Probably like as big as your room." And she's
uh,
like, "No way, that's crazy." Anyway, it's just crazy how the perspectives are these days.
exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure in Guatemala, they didn't have air conditioning either, right?
No, right.
Yes. So I didn't have that intense pressure on top of me, but I still wanted that acknowledgement and hear that word, "I love," those words, "I love you," so I remember, but I'm gonna give that to my son, I'm gonna give that to my daughters, right? And
Mhm.
maybe I overcorrected in a good way, but I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and sometimes I think I pushed too hard.
Mm.
But one time my son came to me. He had gone to a conference, a leadership conference, and he comes home and he says, "Dad, I got to talk to you." And he says, I got to stop being a parent centered. I got to stop living a parent centered life and got to start living a principle centered life. And he
Hmm.
said that at age 14. And I'll never forget that. And
Wow.
for him to have the courage to say that to me, it woke me up. It woke me up. I'm like, wow, because when he
Yeah.
said it to me, my chin hit the floor. I'm like, what did you just say? And, and, uh, and it's so you learn as a parent, and we make our own mistakes, right? We talk about tough
Yeah.
love for our kids. We got to give ourselves some tough love or experience some tough love ourselves, right?
Yeah, definitely. And all the kids are just so different. And it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to figure it out. I mean, we can go down that rabbit trail and talk about parents, because it's like I go to this camp called Dad Camp, and I was facilitating it a couple weeks ago, and I raised my hand. I said, I've done business, I've raised businesses, flipped hundreds of houses, I've gotten married, and I've done all these cool things and crazy things sometimes. But I'm like, parenting and being a dad is the hardest thing
Yeah,
I've ever done.
yeah.
It is. It's
It
crazy.
is, especially when you have to let your kids learn a tough lesson and you can't protect, like, you wanna protect them, you wanna save them, but when they gotta learn, like, a hard lesson on their own, that's hard to watch.
Yes,
Really
yes,
hard to
it
watch.
is. It is.
So,
Yeah.
hey, so you start having a success in all this real estate and things are going really well and you're starting to party and whatnot. So you said you're a womanizer, you were drinking, I'm sure you were an athlete, right? And when you
Mhm,
said those three things, I'm thinking of I went to a seminar and I listened to this guy Joe Erdman one time. He was a Baltimore Colt athlete. He
mhm,
played defensive end for the Colts in the '70s. Bad. I mean, if I can say it, badass man, right?
mhm,
And he talks about three lies that
mhm.
men live: the bedroom, the ball field, and the billfold, right?
Yeah,
You got, if you have money, you're a man. If you're a womanizer, you're a man. If you're an athlete, you're a man. And it sounds like you were living that lie in the 20s, right? Is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah. I actually know the story. He wrote. There was a book. I think it's called "The Season of Life" or something like that, about
Seasons of
that.
life, yeah,
Yeah, about that. I actually, at one of my men's events, I mentioned that men, yeah, the athletics, the performance mentality gets transferred into the performance with women, and trying to get as many women as they can, which gets performance down to business. And most of the time, business could last their entire life.
yeah,
Just trying to accumulate as much as possible. But typically, somewhere maybe in your 40s, there's another book out there called Halftime, which I really recognize. Great book by Bob
yeah,
Buford. And again, it's talking about men going from success for their first half of life, and their second half of life, something starts to shift. They get a little bit more significance. And I think even me and you are probably in that field right now, and trying to teach even the younger generation that it's not all uh, about this success, but it is fun. I'm not nothing against that, but it's also just like, hey, making sure you putting your priorities in check, and kind of going from there. But I love Joe Orman and that story for sure.
yes. I've read the book Halftime as well. I highly recommend both of them. They're just
Yeah,
great books. And I was for, like, I'm in Baltimore and Joe's from Baltimore, and I had the pleasure or the privilege and the honor to actually meet him in person a couple times and sit and chat with him. And I
that's
saw him
awesome.
speak in front of thousands of people, and he's just awesome stuff, right? So you were having that time of your life, and then it sounds like pretty early in that is when you had this turning point. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, it was about when I was about 30 years old. And I think some guys hit this spot, and not to go into too many gory details, but yeah, I mean, you just hit this spot, this rock bottom, that again, especially after you've achieved a lot of this stuff, but you still just feel just this emptiness inside, this lostness, that, man, is this really all that life is just having fun and a bunch of pleasure and having sex and having money and stuff. Like, is this really what it is? And then you start to think about, yeah, what is the whole meaning? What is the whole purpose of life? And guys fall into this darkness, this depression, and this trying to find it, right? Find the meaning. And then the meaning really is just that relationship. I mean, God, He made us a relational beings. He wants a relationship with us, that He is here, He is alive, He is working in our lives, and He will reveal Himself. And one of the things that I did during that time was I sought after Him. I mean, I ran after Him. And I think if you seek Him, you will find Him. He says, if you knock, that I will open the door. And I think the problem is most men don't seek Him.
Yeah.
Most men don't try to find it. They're just like, I don't care. He doesn't work in my life, and I'm just going to go through the motions in that. Like, I'm going to be super active over here. I'm going to try to chase after all these worldly things and get all that I can. But over here, I'm just going to be super passive. I'll let my wife she'll pray for us, and I'm just going to whatever, that's what
Yeah.
they do. Most people don't seek after it. And I was just in that point. I was like, man, I'm just going to go after it. I'm going to find out. I'm going to meet with people. I'm going to meet with mentors. I'm going to ask hard questions. I'm going to pray. I'm going to read the Bible and just figure it out for myself. And I think if you do, I think he's going to blow your mind. And that's what he did for me.
Yeah, I got chills, man. I got chills. I was thinking on a side note here, like I go to church daily. Maybe but I go, or Sunday mass. I usually go on Saturday, but then I go Saturday mornings, and usually 3 or sometimes 4 times during the week. And I've only been doing that whole thing for I don't know 6 months, a year, whatever. And it's been interesting because I noticed, like you said, I'll just let my wife pray for me. Like
Right.
we have this stereotype that the women do the praying, the women are the holy people, right? And
Hmm.
it's not manly to seek God, right?
Hmm.
And going to church, I got to tell you, there's more men there during the week than I see females there, and it's
Mm.
interesting. It's an interesting concept, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the Bible talks about the men are supposed to lead the family, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a chauvinistic comment. It's just what's written, right?
Yeah.
And
And I think it just goes back to again, that just the influence. And I think, yeah, there's nothing against the women, but I think there is a huge difference because if you look at our culture and you look at some of the problems and then the challenges that men have, like look at our prisons, for example. Typically, like our prisons are filled with mostly men that probably have an absent father. Like most of them have father issues, an absent father, an abusive father, some sort of brokenness in the father, and they're just kind of repeating that. And and again, I was speaking at this conference and talking about dad. Like I was at this one conference and they wrote us letters, right? I'm getting letters from my mom, I'm getting letters from my wife, I'm getting letters from my friends and all these people. And I'm reading these letters, and who am I really looking for? And when I get to my dad's letter and it's like 2 pages long, I'm pausing. I'm reading every single word of this letter from my dad. Like it's just different. It's
yeah.
different when your dad says something. Like you can have teachers say something, coaches say something, and they can say, "Man, I'm proud of you for doing that. You're doing a great job." But when your dad sits down with you and says, "I just want to let you know that I love you. I'm so proud of you." It's just different.
I don't think you can say it any better. The word it's different. The words it's different because it is, and I don't know what it is about sons wanting that acknowledgement or that love from their dads because they feel I guess like your mom's giving it to you, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes you don't always know dad's giving it to you because sometimes I think dads have been stereotyped as the nose to the grind of the worker, right? But now that's changing because there's many more women leaders out there than there have
Mhm.
been in the past. So that's that whole dynamic's changing anyway. So that's great. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to ask you, like without going into any crazy details, was there one thing, there was a knock on the head or one incident that happened that said, it's time for me to change?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll go into maybe so, quick story. I'm in Las Vegas. So again, I'm partying and I'm in Las Vegas and I was staying and I was really hungover one day and kind of stayed in bed and one of my buddies brings in like a prostitute into our room. And I didn't do crazy. I didn't go down that far, but like anyways, I remember just this like evilness like kind of filled the room and I was kind of just completely out of it. And she looked at me and she said, "Do you want to have fun too?" And then that was the moment that
Wow.
I said, "Absolutely not." And I left and I came home and that's when my journey started. And I said, I'm tired of having fun. I'm ready
Now, were you
to
were
rock
you
out.
always a Christ follower before then, or it was in that moment that you said, "Time for me to do this"?
It was more of like time for me to change. It was more like I don't want to do this life anymore. I don't want to do this lifestyle. I didn't go to Christ exactly at that particular moment.
Okay.
There was a good 6 months, 12 months of wrestling with that whole idea and that thing, relationship with Christ. But it was that moment where I like, yeah, I'm going to change. I'm not going
Okay.
to do this anymore. So that was kind of like the pivotal rock bottom. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And just the darkness I think the light maybe went on, and I was just like, I don't want to live like this anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. You know who Saint Augustine is, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so he like, there was just his I guess was it early this week or late last week? It was the memorial of Saint Augustine. You know his so they had a mass in reference to him, and he had a crazy life growing on, and he decided to change, and he became a saint. So maybe sainthood's in your
Yeah.
future.
Well, I think there's the cliches. They say, hey, your messes can turn into your messages, and I think that there is something about that. I can at our events, Iron Deep events, we're just, I mean, that's one of the things. We're real, we're raw, we talk about the truth, and I think men just gravitate towards that, and I think that there's sometimes men think that they can't relate to the pastor, they can't relate to the messages. But when you can bring it down, be like, hey, this is me, this is who I am. I'm a sinner. I'm saved by grace. I love Christ. I'm still, I still like to do risky things. I still like to, go ATVing and ride in the hills and go in the mountains and do crazy stuff. But I do it with Christ now, and it's fun. So, anyways.
So you said it was like a 6 month process to you to really like make that, I guess, commitment, if that's the right word, to Christ.
Mhm.
So along that 6 month time frame, is like was one foot in the water and then maybe back out and another foot back in and back out, or was it just a slow, gradual journey to make that decision? Say, I'm in.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was kind of gradual. It was gradual. I mean, I started meeting with some mentors, counselors, started going to church, right? Started just asking tough questions, talking to my parents, started reading a little bit. My aunt died at that time at 51 years old, and my uncle at her funeral, he said, "Man, if she would want you to know, if you never had a relationship with Christ, it's the best decision you ever make." I just remember moments like that, start to think like, man, is this really the real deal? Is this the real story? Because if it is, I'm all in. And that's when I think, again, if you seek after him, he'll blow your mind. He will reveal himself. And then when he did, I'm all in. So
So you use the word, you use it a couple times. You seek after him or seek him or chase him. What
mhm.
does that look like for you? What does it look like for Brett? Because it could be different for other people. What does it look like
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for me, I mean, it kind of just starts with, are you being still with him? Are you just with him? Are you intentional about being with him? I mean, it's a relationship. So for me, so am I intentional about wanting to be with him? He's waiting for all of us. If you think about Luke 15 and the prodigal son, like he's waiting for his son to come home. And when he sees his son coming home, he hikes up and he's running after him, which men don't really do in that time. And he gives them a ring. He gives his son a ring. He gives him sandals. He gives him a robe, which basically all means that you are my son. You've come home, and I'm going to come after you. I'm going to meet you when you come home. So I think he's waiting for all of us. So for me, it's like, am I intentional being with him? Am I praying with him? Am I wanting to know who he's like? Right. That's the first thing. Am I wanting to study him and to know, what is his character like? And then am I wanting to know what he's calling me to be? Right. I mean, it's all about identity. And that's, Iron Deep, we talk a lot about who are you in Christ. And I think a lot of us, especially in our culture these days, I mean, we're all struggling with that piece, right? I mean, gender identity, or men put their identity into their work, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're like the first culture. And I think it was Tim Keller that said we're the first culture in history that we put our sole identity into what we do for a living. Men didn't do that before. So I think we're all searching for that. And so it's like, studying who he is, asking him who we are. And then, for me, it's also just being a part of the kingdom. And that's really where Iron Deep was born. I want to be around guys that want that, don't want to pursue that. There's a lot of community of pursuits out there, but I wanted a community that we're all pursuing the kingdom. We're all pursuing that with a singular purpose. Like, we like to do other things, but it all starts there. So I think, getting alone with God, being still, asking him who he is, asking him who we are, and then getting around group and pursuing him together. That's just a few things. There's a lot more, but
So it sounds like you do some quiet time.
Oh
You say
yeah.
get still with them. So is that like a 15-minute exercise, 20, half hour, an hour? What's that look like?
hmm Yeah, I mean, typically, yeah, no, it's maybe a 30 minutes, 45 minutes in the mornings, typically, or sometimes it's just in the middle of the day too. But yeah, just getting quiet with him, being still. My one of my favorite verses, being still and know that I am God.
Yeah.
So we're all rushing around. It's like we get up out of bed, we grab our device, and we're off to the races. And I think that if we all just slow down and just be still and just say, God, just I'm here. What do you want with me today?
Yeah.
And just start there. So
It's
yeah.
almost like, here's the pen, you write the script,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I think he's gotta cure us of our hurry up sickness.
Yes.
I heard that term before. Yeah.
It's very, and I've been doing some exercises, just some disciplines lately, and these aren't, um, but I think there was another book out there. It's called Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and he talks about there's a professor, Dallas Willard, said that one of his characteristics that he loved about Jesus was that he was so relaxed. And if you think about it, like he was relaxed. Like he got interrupted and he was very busy and he was performing miracles and he was doing these amazing things, but he was relaxed. He was present with people. And I think that we've lost some of that art. And and I think that we have to really be intentional and disciplined to to be relaxed. I don't know about you, but like it's very hard to be relaxed.
Especially if you're
Um,
a type A guy.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
But I have to start removing things just, out of my life that's bringing me that anxiety, that's bringing me that hurriedness. Um, like for example, this is just one discipline I started doing recently. So again, our phones and our devices, and I'm a working man, and my laptops, that all brings work and it brings addictiveness and attachments, and it's designed to. I mean, that's what the phone is designed to do. It's designed to addict you so that you're on it all the time, and most of the apps are too. So for example, I just stopped bringing it into my house. That doesn't sound like that much, but it's like one of my mentors said, if you want to stop working and stop being on your phone and be present with your family, just don't even bring it into your house. And I
Yeah.
started doing that, and it's crazy how, like, man, you can breathe. I can wake up and I look over, my phone's not there, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I don't have to do that anymore." And it's
Yeah.
crazy. Now I can go be still with the Lord.
That is great, man. That is great. Yeah, because I picture you as in your past as a type A guy, very like, hyper, whatnot, and you seem very mellow and
Yeah.
present right now. And I got some work to do. I can tell you that. Yeah, I'm the guy that races the GPS.
Yeah. That's awesome, that's awesome.
Always got to be GPS. So, hey, so I want to chat real quick about this. Brett wrote this book and he sent it to me and I read it and I was like, it was only read so many pages a day. I'm like, damn, I can't wait to get till tomorrow to read the next section, the next section, the next section. So the title book, and we're not going to give too much away because I want everybody to read this, but I think it's a profound book. I think it will have a profound impact, especially on, let's say guys or maybe even women who are, chasing and chasing and chasing the accomplishment and the material and the money, because that happens in both, sexes these days, right? So, but it's called The Secret War Within. So, and it's an allegory. So real quick, Brett, define what an allegory is first, and then I'm going to ask you a couple questions about it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I've always wanted to write a book, and I was thinking about, oh, which direction should I go? And obviously, there's a lot of nonfiction books. If you look at the Christian bookshelf or the business bookshelf, so many thousands and thousands and thousands, and there's thousands of fictional books. But I wanted to be able just to tell a story. Maybe like a movie, right? So if you think about movies, it takes you into the story. You can put yourself into the movie, and instead of telling about your life and different stories, you just make it into a story, and that's what the allegory is. So an allegory is basically, if you think of like a C.S. Lewis novel, he wrote the Narnia book series, and that's kind of an allegory. Again, a Christian type of allegory. Aslan was Jesus Christ and sacrificed his life. So again, it's a kind of a fictional style of book, but it has real elements of the book, real lessons. Some other There's another book called Pilgrim's Progress. That's an older
Yeah,
one that's kind of an allegory.
I've read that.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the direction I wanted. But this is, instead of using what they used, which was talking animals and things like that. This was just more modern day, real life, right? A real man's life, and you can kind of go into his life, and a lot of it is my story, but it's not all my story, which is kind of cool because I got to play with the character a little bit, so it was fun.
That's kind of what makes it an allegory too,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah. So the title of the book is The Secret War Within. So, I mean, obviously you're not going to give away the whole book here, or the the ending and all that, but what is The Secret War Within?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been around a lot of successful guys, business owners, and I want to write a book just based on. So the book is about a character named Nolan Banks, and he is very successful real estate guy. Has everything that you could dream of when it comes to worldly wealth and nice home and beautiful family. But he has some inner turmoil going on, this battle, even some addiction, some secrets that he doesn't want anyone really to find out. And the book kind of pulls back the curtain on his secrets, like sexual addiction and pornography, and he wants to be recognized and wealthy, and he's been chasing all these different things, but he feels just this emptiness, right? So when people are in the room and he's on his game face and everything looks great, and like, man, this guy's he has it all together and he has everything that any man would ever want, but when everyone leaves, then you get to see his heart, and then you get to see what he's dealing with. And that's where the book really starts to come alive, that I kind of had a lot of fun with, because you got to see what he's thinking about. Like, you can't see if you ever seen the movie, like What Women Think About or Men Think About, I forget the title of it, but you got to see their thoughts, and you get to see
Yeah.
Nolan's thoughts, and you get to see his battles, and you get to see, why do I do this? Why am I addicted to this? And why am I watching this? And why don't I love my family? Like, why don't I want to be with them?
Yeah.
Why do I want to work all the time? Like, why am I addicted to this? What is wrong with me? And you just see that gnawing at him, and that's kind of what sets him off, right? Sets him off on this journey to again, kind of like my journey, is to find out what the true purpose and the meaning of all this is.
Yeah, it's I highly recommend. In fact, I think I'm gonna buy a stack from you and give them out to some of my circle of friends that are in this world, right? Because it maybe even not in this world, right? Maybe that's the better group, right?
Right.
Not to say you're broken, I'm trying to fix you, but just expose them to it, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's a great book, got a great ending. I love it. I love that every piece of it I was reading, so it was very influential to me. And I saw myself in parts of it as well. And it's an interesting book, so I highly recommend anybody. Again, it's called The Secret War Within by Brett Snodgrass. And before we're finished here, you're going to give your contact information and all that. So a couple questions about that. So when you wrote the book, you said you told me offline, it took you about 6 months to do the rough draft and maybe another year or so to get it edited and all that. What was did you hire an editor, by the way?
Mhm. Yeah, I did. So number one, I hired a writing coach.
Mhm.
And this is something, as a business owner, like, I'm always wanting to delegate and things like that. So I'm like, should I have someone else even write the book, right? Have a ghost writer. But I talked to a coach, and they just said they're not gonna catch what your voice is gonna be. So how about I just coach you through writing it? So I hired a writing coach, just like if you would hire someone to coach you through anything
Right, right.
that you've never done before. So that was kind of fun. That was cool. So she kind of just helped me just get the juices flowing, the creative juices, and how to structure it and things like that. And then after that, so that took me about 6 months to get the rough draft. And then that's when the real journey began. Because then, yes, I hired an editor. And then you're reading through it 4, 5, 6 times, and then you got to design the cover, and then you got
Uh-huh.
to figure out how to get it out there to people. And then it took me about 12 months, because that's not my gift. So, like, I'm more of the creative mind. Like, that was fun, and I got to get into that mindset, but the whole editing and polishing it, and that wasn't that fun for me. So,
Yeah, I
and that
was
took me
down
about
that
12
road.
months.
I mean, it took me, when I finally committed, it was 6 months
Yeah.
for me to get the rough draft together. And then being in the business and whatnot, it took me another 2.5 years to go through all the edits and all the
Yeah.
refinement of it all. And the one thing I remember the most, it was very impactful, almost in a negative way. I remember submitting that first draft to an editor, and when it came back and there was more red than black and white on that
Right.
manuscript, I was like, "Am I even
I gotta
qualified to do this?"
I know. I gotta rewrite some of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a journey. Probably one of the toughest things that I've done, one of the biggest projects. But so worth it. I think it's once you put your heart and soul into something and you know, your family can read it and people can read it and they're giving you positive feedback and transformation starting to happen. You're like, okay, that was totally worth it. So it was good.
Yes, it's definitely a sense of I hate to use the word accomplishments because we're talking about like don't get addicted to that thing,
Mhm.
but there's a sense of pride.
Yeah.
There's got to be a sense of pride,
Yeah.
when you finish something like that because it was one of the hardest things I've ever done is write that book,
Yeah.
and it's something you're proud of as well. So you have the book, you do your real estate, and you have the Iron Deep community. And
Mhm.
I read a little bit about what that is. Can you go a little bit into that before we finish up here?
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I was again. I've been a lot of masterminds and conferences and business conferences, stuff like that. And I just want to develop a community of. Not saying there's other communities out there as well, but I wanted to pour into men, right? And I wanted to pour into entrepreneurial business leaders, business owners, men. Uh, and even specify a little bit more even in the real estate and the Christian men that wanted to go after strengthen their faith, uh being a leader of their family, and then also being a leader in their business, and how can we help that grow as well. So that's where Iron Deep was really born. We had our first event in 2021. We call it the Men's Awakening. So we went to the Rocky Mountains. We spent 3 days together. There's about 25 guys there of all business guys.
Wow.
um yeah, and we kind of go through this program, and again, Iron Deep really stands for iron sharpens iron, and then sharpening each other, and then deep is deep relationship with God and each other. So you come out of there with really good friends of like-minded guys, all facing similar challenges in their businesses or their lives. Um, and that's where we kind of started. So since then we've had a few events, and again, these are smaller events. Our next one actually is coming up in a few weeks. I'm not sure when this will air. Probably will air after that one, but
Yeah,
it's going to
well,
be in
yeah.
Helen, Georgia. But again, 25, 30 guys, and we get together, going deep together. But also the whole goal is to create smaller communities. So this past year, I've had 12 guys that I've been facilitating life with
Uh-huh.
over this year, and it kind of and I'm building it as we kind of go. But obviously, it just resembles Jesus Christ and the disciples. 12 people doing life together, pursuing those three things fully: Christ, our families, and our businesses. And it's kind of a discipleship making program, honestly. So like my hope would be I'll do life with these guys for maybe 3 years, and then maybe one of them maybe wants to lead a group, and that's kind of the hope, is just to kind of build these smaller groups from there in Iron Deep communities.
So did you create the whole program, or like you take these guys out to the Rocky Mountains for 3 days? How did you know what you were going to do? Right.
Yeah, I mean, just I mean, we kind of created it. I took bits and pieces from other things that I've seen, other things that I've experienced or been in. Um, and yes, but we did create it, the blueprint of it.
That's incredible, man. So yeah, it's man, I could go on and on here. I know I could, and I love this connection I'm feeling here, and I'm excited. I'm excited to get to know you better and whatnot, and learn more about you. So before I let you go, I ask you the same question I ask everybody. And you've had a lot of chiseling going on in your life. So how much more chiseling do you anticipate going on in your life?
Probably the day I end up going into eternity in heaven. I mean, we're all a work. I mean, just an example. This past summer, I kind of went into a dark place just because I had taken on way too much, and I think that's just one thing I'm learning is like I got to say no to things. And Robbie, I've even had to reschedule this podcast a couple of times, right? Because I'm a man that maybe it's a people pleaser in me. But I want to also achieve. So my human nature is like, let's just do it all. It all sounds awesome. Let's just do it all. But I can end up in a bad place. So for me, I think it's just chiseling out what is really worth it. And I think maybe that's the question. And I did this exercise at at this dad camp a couple weeks ago, and it was like they wrote a sentence down: is blank worth blank. And that really resonated with me because, like, whenever you're doing something, is my work, my workaholic, if I'm a workaholic, is that worth my family, right? Or is this addiction worth my health? Something like that. So, like, these are things I'm always thinking about. So, I'm always a work in progress. I'm always molding. I'm always chiseling. I hope that I become more like Christ and mature in Christ throughout the next 30, 40 years if God allows me to live that long. So
God willing, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So is there like a constant tug of war between, like, I asked myself the questions one time, like, where's the fine line between ambition and contentment?
Yeah.
Where's that fine line? Because you want to achieve and you want to go after things. So that's a drive that's in you. But where do you draw the line, or where do you not cross the line where you give up that contentment and peace? Because contentment doesn't mean give up, stop doing anything, right? But
Mhm.
you're fulfilled, right? That
Yeah.
might be a better word. Where's
Yeah.
that fine line there? And is there a tug of war for you?
Yeah. I think there is, if your habits are, I think again, just kind of evaluate your habits. So I think, if I live in day tight compartments and I just think about the day and I'm spending time with the Lord and I'm flirting with my wife and I'm saying and speaking over her and I'm present with my kids and then I get some work done, um, then that's a great life. And here's the thing that I have to tell myself, and this isn't anything I made up, but it's like you'll never get it all done. Like
Right.
you will never get it all done. Like there's always more podcasts to write or do. There's always more books to write. There's always more business and deals to be had. Like you're never going to get it done. So for me, it's like, you know what? What's worth it?
Yeah.
Um, like, cause I can work all the time. Like like I love to work. I can work all the time, but is that worth not being present with my kids, or
Yeah.
do I leave my phone? Do I not bring it in the house? And
Right.
I just gotta make those choices because whatever you say yes to, you're saying no to something else. So like,
Right.
um, and that's just things that I've been working on. I'm a work in progress. And here's one thing: I can't multitask. Like it's impossible. So like, I can't be thinking about my email and what the deal is, and then trying to help my son with his homowork. Like you can't do it. You
Yeah.
can't
You
do
shouldn't
it.
do it. You
You
shouldn't do it.
can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like
It's been
impossible.
proven, and I mean, it's been proven that,
Yeah.
it hurts you more than it helps you. You know,
Right, right.
so,
So,
but
so that's just a few things that just maybe to tell your audience is just that you'll never get it all done. What is the most important? Like, what is the things that are really, really worth it? And when it's all said and done, I would much rather be the best dad I can be, or the best husband I can be, than to make an extra $1,000,000. Honestly, that's just an example, right?
there you go.
So,
That's a great line. That's good.
yeah.
So Brett, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how could they get a hold of you? How could they find you?
Yeah, we can go to our website, irondeep.com, check out what we're doing on there. My email, Brett, BRETT at irondeep.com is probably the best way. Love to just chat with you. I mean, if this resonates with you, first maybe get the book. You can get that off Amazon or our website. Uh, and
Or from
if that,
Rob, but anyway.
or from Rob, if this, or I'll send you a free copy, right? It's just really just the book is also just it's kind of also an entry just in our community. I mean, a lot of it is just about that's how we get started into the community as well. So if it resonates with you, I'd love to chat with you about it.
That's awesome, man. Brett, thank you so much, man. This has been awesome today. I totally enjoyed it. I learned some stuff from you. I learned some more stuff, through the book and you talking to you live here. So it's been awesome for me. Any last words before I let you go?
Man, I just appreciate you, appreciate what you're doing, and keep chiseling away at your own life and other people's lives. And we're all in this together, right? So we're all work in progress, and let's just do it together.
You got it. Way to go. I love that ending there. So until next time, everybody, let's go get chiseled.